The commands had been traveling across enemy lines. Any women found and captured were to face the worst of fates. You knew that despite wearing the same uniform, carrying the same rifle, and fighting the same war, your fate could be far worse than any man's. Women's contributions during World War II were indispensable, from nurses to radio operators, from clerks to mechanics, from pilots to spies. The Allies could not have succeeded without them. Yet, until the war's end in 1945, women on the battlefield lived with the looming threat of capture, imprisonment, or execution. Today on History Awaken, we examine what the Nazis did to captured female soldiers. Female soldiers were a vital arm of the armed forces in World War II. Several nations, including Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, enlisted women in highly important roles such as mechanics, pilots, radio operators, clerks, and nurses. Beyond these essential positions, women also took on the perilous work of espionage and resistance fighting. Of all the nations, the Soviet Union fielded the largest number of women. An estimated 800,000 women served in Russian forces, with many in direct combat roles as snipers and pilots. But every soldier in combat faced the risk of capture, and for women, this often meant something far more brutal. Among the most famous of these fighters were the Night Witches, an all-women combat squadron. Officially known as the 588th Night Bomber Regiment, they were formed after Marina Reskova personally appealed to Joseph Stalin for the creation of female combat units. Starting in 1941, young women, many just in their late teens, volunteered to fly outdated wooden planes into enemy territory under cover of night. Their signature tactic was cutting their engines near targets and gliding silently to drop their bombs, a sound that German soldiers likened to broomsticks flying overhead. The nickname Night Witches stuck. Over the course of the war, they flew 30,000 hours and dropped more than 3,000 tons of bombs. Yet these missions came with immense danger, and many were captured. For those unlucky enough to fall into Nazi hands, the punishment was often a concentration camp or execution. Captured women in World War II faced some of the harshest punishments imaginable. For many, the outcome was imprisonment in concentration camps or execution. When Nazi Germany invaded Russia in June 1941, they were stunned to find women serving openly in combat, carrying rifles, manning artillery, and flying missions. To the Nazi command, this was both shocking and offensive. On June 29, 1941, Field Marshal Gunther von Kluge issued the infamous order that captured women soldiers were to be shot on sight. The directive spread quickly, becoming routine practice, sealing the fate of countless Soviet women who dared to fight. The atrocities on the Eastern Front only worsened their plight. Of 6 million Soviet prisoners captured, nearly half died from starvation, exposure, or abuse. Women soldiers suffered even greater risks, with many choosing to take their own lives rather than fall into enemy hands. Their bravery was undeniable, though their sacrifices often went unrecognized. Yet some women survived, their stories becoming legendary. Krystyna Skarbek, known as the bravest of the brave, was a Polish agent for Britain's Special Operations Executive. Captured by the Gestapo, she cleverly faked tuberculosis symptoms by biting her tongue to produce blood, tricking doctors into releasing her and continuing her espionage missions. From America, Reba Whittle became the only U.S. woman captured in the European theater. Shot down in 1943, she was taken by the Nazis, who were uncertain how to treat a female POW. Thanks to the Red Cross, she was freed in 1945 and awarded the Purple Heart for her courage. These stories remind us of the immense sacrifices and resilience of women in World War II. Whether they were pilots flying under the cover of night, spies operating in occupied cities, or nurses risking their lives on the battlefield, they fought not only against the enemy but also against prejudice and injustice. Their bravery and suffering should never be forgotten.